It's shocking to realize that often a simple yes or no can carry more weight than an entire speech. After all, who hasn't found themselves caught in a web of broken promises, empty words and commitments that vanished into thin air? How many times have you trusted someone, believed in them wholeheartedly, only to be stunned by the lack of coherence between what they say and what they do? This pain is not just social, it's also spiritual, as it touches the essence of the relationship between humanity, God, and one's neighbor. What if I told you there's a way to shield your life from manipulation, lies, and deceit? That there's a principle so simple, yet so powerful, that it can transform how you relate to others and even your faith. Today, you'll be guided on a journey from the discomfort of doubt to the clarity of integrity. You'll discover why Jesus placed such emphasis on this principle, how he exposed the religious distortions of his time, and how this still resonates in our society today. In the end, you'll not only understand the weight of words, but also experience the lightness of living a life where your yes is truly yes, and your no is unequivocally no. In those times when a word was worth more than any written contract, making a promise before God was like putting your soul as collateral. Imagine a people who, when swearing an oath, not only committed to another person, but took responsibility before the Creator to fulfill what they said. There was no room for maybe, because the word was the bridge between honor and faith. The weight of an oath revealed how much community life depended on truth as its foundation. Being witnessed by heaven was no trivial matter. When someone affirmed something, they used God's name as a seal of authenticity, and everyone knew that breaking such a promise was like mocking the Lord himself. This inspired respect, but also fear. There was, in that act, an acknowledgement that the sacred cannot be manipulated, for a lie creates cracks that erode any relationship. It's in this context that we understand the impact of Jesus' words. It wasn't just about religious formality, but about something that held together the social fabric of Israel. The oath, at its core, was not just a legal commitment, but a spiritual bond that preserved each person's dignity. Trust was the fuel of coexistence, and without it, society descended into chaos. It's against this backdrop that Christ's critique of the corruption of this practice emerges, paving the way for something even deeper. But humans, cunning and often disconnected from the essence, found loopholes to escape responsibility. Instead of swearing directly by God's name, they began using substitutes: heaven, earth, Jerusalem. It sounded pious, as if it were humility, but in reality, it was a trick to evade the weight of commitment. It was like signing a contract in fine print, hoping no one would read it. This religious cleverness didn't fool the divine gaze, though it confused people. Those who swore by Jerusalem but not by God thought they were protecting themselves from greater accountability. But in doing so, they created a system of empty words where trust was eroded from within. It was a faith of appearances, a spiritual veneer hiding the intent to manipulate. And when truth is diluted, lies take center stage and destroy the purity of faith. What seemed like a mere exchange of words became a chasm between honesty and manipulation. By replacing God with created symbols, people tried to relativize truth and turn it into a currency of convenience. It was like building a house on sand. It might look sturdy on the outside, but it collapses in the first storm. Against this, Jesus raises his voice, reminding us that everything, heaven, earth, Jerusalem, and even life, belongs to the Creator, and nothing escapes the gaze of the true witness. Curiously, what should have been a tool of trust became a weapon of deceit. Imagine someone promising something, and then saying, "Oh, but I didn't swear by God, only by Jerusalem." This trickery turned the oath into a word game where truth was relativized for convenience. What was meant to ensure security became a mechanism of fraud, undermining the foundations of healthy coexistence. The manipulation of indirect oaths allowed people to escape responsibility without appearing to lie. It was a religious theater, using spiritual words to mask selfish intentions. This was reflected in business, friendships, even within families. How often do we see something similar today? People who swear by their children's lives, or say, "I swear by all that's holy," but have no intention of following through. This distortion created a climate of collective insecurity. No one knew who to truly trust. Relationships, which should be based on words and character, became fragile, dependent on explanations, details, and hidden clauses. It's like walking on a glass floor. At any moment, everything could shatter. Jesus saw this emptiness and chose to expose the lie hidden behind so many religious formalities. Jesus didn't let this pass unnoticed. He revealed that swearing by heaven, earth, Jerusalem, or even one's own head was pointless, because everything already belongs to God. There's no space where the Creator isn't present as a witness. By showing this, he dismantles the deceptive logic of those who thought they could manipulate truth by simply changing words. Christ's firmness was like a ray of light amid the shadows of distorted religiosity. His message was clear. Enough with artifices, enough with loopholes, enough with trying to tame the sacred for personal gain. Integrity cannot be outsourced to symbols. It springs from the heart of someone who truly fears God. And when that fear is genuine, there's no need to adorn speech with grandiose oaths. With this, Jesus not only corrects a practice, but calls each person to a new standard of life, simple, direct, and transparent. He shows that truth doesn't need makeup or religious artifices to be valid. Where there's honesty, the word is enough. And this teaching echoes to this day, inviting every chosen one to shed masks and live with integrity before God and humanity. Instead of a maze of complicated words, Jesus brought a simple and liberating path. Let your yes truly be yes, and your no be no. It's almost disconcerting how something so straightforward can completely transform how we live. There's no need for elaborate promises when life itself carries the weight of integrity. It's like looking someone in the eyes and knowing there's no room for duplicity. This principle isn't just religious, but profoundly practical. Imagine how much pain could be avoided if, in relationships, business, or everyday conversations, every word were true without needing extra justification. When integrity becomes a habit, there's no room for distrust. Genuine faith in God leads to a life where transparency is the best testimony. It's like planting a tree with strong roots. It doesn't need ornaments to prove its strength. It simply stands and bears fruit. A transparent yes and no are more than language choices. They reflect an upright heart. And when this practice becomes common, not only does trust grow, but also the freedom to live without masks. This is the revolution Christ proposes, and it remains relevant. Imagine a society where no one needs to use God's name as a persuasive currency, where trust sustains itself without artificial reinforcements. That's exactly what Jesus presented. A horizon where faith isn't a pretext for manipulation, but builds healthy relationships. A place where spirituality is lived in practice, not used as an excuse to deceive. When honesty becomes the norm, there's no need for oaths, loophole-filled contracts, or endless justifications. Life becomes light because every spoken word carries the weight of truth. This is the portrait of a world where disciples understand that being chosen means reflecting God's light in the simplest and most powerful way, by being truthful. And this portrait is an invitation for each of us today. It's not a utopia, it's possible. It starts at home with fulfilled promises, honored commitments, and words that carry truth without pretense. If each person chooses to live with this integrity, the impact multiplies, transforming families, communities, entire cities. This vision of Christ isn't a distant dream. It's a clear direction for those who wish to walk with genuine faith and full freedom. From the beginning, humanity was deceived by distorted words. The serpent in Eden didn't need to wield a sword. It used a malicious phrase to shake the trust that man and woman had in God. This detail reveals how lies can create chaos, even when they seem harmless. The poison wasn't just in the forbidden fruit, but in the deceit that contaminated the mind. The same happens when someone uses words to manipulate. It's the same spirit of the serpent, trading clarity for confusion and creating loopholes to destroy relationships. The consequences can be devastating. Broken friendships, divided families, entire societies shaken. Lies don't just cause misunderstandings, they open the door for distrust to erode everything built with effort. Jesus' warning about manipulative oaths revisits this episode in Eden. He shows that every time we toy with truth, we repeat the ancient logic that distanced humanity from the Creator. It's not just a linguistic detail, but a choice that determines whether we walk in light or give space to darkness. Faithfulness to words is therefore a spiritual weapon against deceit. When Jesus spoke about oaths, he didn't discard the Torah, but revealed the essence behind it from the start. The commandments weren't given to create religious bureaucracy, but to teach that life with God is built on faithfulness. The law about promises wasn't a burden, but a guide to remind us that every word has value before the Creator and one's neighbor. The greatness of this wisdom lies in showing that integrity is greater than any ritual. Keeping a promise wasn't just a formality, it was an act of love and justice. Honoring one's word was to recognize the other's dignity and reflect God's image. In this sense, being truthful isn't just about following rules, but aligning life with the divine heart. Jesus takes this wisdom to its peak, showing that it's not enough to avoid lies. One must live in full truth. He reveals that manipulating words to escape responsibility is in practice dishonoring God. On the other hand, being upright and transparent in everything is one of the most beautiful forms of worship. This is true spirituality, a heart so connected to the Lord that it needs no adornments to be trustworthy. Few things were as revolutionary as Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. He didn't just convey teachings, he presented a lifestyle that turned the world upside down. There he showed that a relationship with God isn't measured by empty rituals, but by how we treat our neighbor. Instead of offering religious formulas, he brought practical examples, touching the heart of what truly matters: honesty, compassion, and faithfulness. Within this unforgettable sermon, he explored 6 situations that revealed how to live with integrity. When he addressed oaths, it was clear his intent wasn't to discuss formalities, but the essence of human character. For Jesus, a just life didn't depend on beautiful speeches, but on actions that matched the truth. It was as if he said, "Want to live with true faith? Then let your word speak louder than any solemn promise." By mentioning the ancient commandments, Jesus recalled a mosaic of Torah passages pointing to the same principle: keep your promises. He wasn't inventing anything new, but revealing the depth of something the people already knew. Fulfilling oaths before the Lord was always seen as a sacred act, for failing to keep one's word harmed not only the neighbor, but also God's honor. The wisdom of the law lay in reminding us that a promise cannot be used as a bargaining chip or a tool for manipulation. When Jesus evokes these passages, he denounces how many had turned a sacred act into an empty formality. The strength of his message is in showing that more than memorizing commandments, we must live them.